just watched a movie. It was on the Sundance Channel. The name of the movie was Garage. It was a it was one of those movies that, it was a foreign movie. I don't know where it took place. It was funny. It was in English, but it was subtitled because you wouldn't have been able to understand it. A lot of it. It was a sad, sad movie. The the character, he was, you could see that he was off. Mentally and physically he was off. He was a very innocent person looking for friendship. He was sort of the butt of jokes at the pub. And it was his boss, who was the son of the man he used to work for, who was in the same class with him, gave him a job. He had a job at this garage, and he lived at the garage. And it would, if he needed to wash himself, it was like a sponge bath kind of a thing. But he lived at this garage that didn't have much business. But his boss wanted to stay open till 10 o'clock. So he hired this kid. Oh, you didn't know how old the kid was at the beginning, but he was 15. And he asked the kid if he wanted to stay for a drink or whatever, a beer. And so they did. It was just a very interesting thing. It was totally innocent, the whole thing. And he had a guy who used to come to the garage who drove a truck. He drove dead chickens. He was taking a load of dead chickens to Bruges. And the guy thought that was pretty amazing, and just a job, for the truck driver. But anyway, he came back and he brought like a porno movie with him. Gave it to this guy at the garage. Anyway, he showed the movie to the 15-year-old kid, and this is after he had he had befriended him. He was the kid that was there to work to help him when they stayed open till 10 o'clock. And the kid got all freaked out and left. And he was very, you could tell he was sorry, because he kind of didn't know, he didn't relate. He didn't understand what he was doing. So anyway, the kid told one of his friends, and one of his friends word got back to the kid's mother, and they took him down to the police station to question him. And then it showed this scene where his boss, who was the guy that he had gone to school with, they were there talking, but there was no resolution. You didn't know what they left you hanging with what the conversation was about. So during this movie, there was this guy would go by. There was this big horse, and he took the horse apples. And the horse had always been friendly with him. And then he went by to give the horse an apple, and the owner of the horse had a tire. The animal was tied to a tire. So he went over the fence and gave the animal an apple. So the animal was not only behind the fence, but now it had this tire around itself. It was tied to a tire. So after the owner of the garage had left, got out of bed that night and got dressed, and in the morning he went for a walk. He went down for a walk to the river. It was interesting. He took his shoes off, and he put his shoes on the by the river bank. Took off his cap that he was wearing for the whole movie, and kind of tossed it there. And then he went back and arranged it, put the cap right on top of his shoes, and walked into the river. You could see him going down into the river, and then he went underwater, and then the whole screen was black. And then you see this horse that is out of the fence, walking toward the camera on a railroad line, like tracks from a railroad. I suppose the symbology of that horse, without the tire around it, outside the fence, walking along these tracks, was symbolic of him getting out of this rather desperate situation that he was in, although we never really knew about the desperateness of it, whether or not he was fired or whatever happened. But he was desperate enough to where he killed himself. It was a very, very sad movie.